Hey y'all, happy Tuesday, happy spoken word Tuesday. I hope you guys did come along fine. You guys know on Tuesdays I like to bring the word, okay? So anyway, you guys know earlier today on my short, I read how David reacted, to outsmart his enemies, right? He knew, that he was a great soldier, and he had to, walk in the ways of the Father, but he also sinned because remember, all of us fall short of the glory, right? But he knew that he had sins, right? He knew the things he done and said, right? So he asked the Father to have compassion on him, right? He asked the Father, to basically forgive him for his sins, had compassion over him, and don't let his wrath come on and just destroy him all at once, right? But the Father did have mercy and grace on David. David did a lot. He even went after Bathsheba, who was Uriah's wife. He saw her bathing over there in Jerusalem, and she looked so good that he killed the man's wife and set up something, like something was going on, like attack was coming just to kill him and take him out, just to marry his wife Bathsheba, and that's how Solomon came about, right? But let's not forget that sin caused his first son that he had first child that he had by Bathsheba to die. The Father took that seed because he had to pay for that sin, right? And then the Father allowed him to have Solomon, who became a great king as well. Okay? But anyway, ain't nothing new under the sun, right? Because David knew, because he was walking for the Father, he had great enemies, people who hated him, people who was out to persecute him. So and sometimes in turn, when we defend ourselves, we also sin, right? Because we do fall short of glory, because the spirit be willing, but the flesh is weak. Okay, so keep that in mind. The spirit be willing, but the flesh be weak. So sometimes we become provoked as well and get crazy, and then gotta go repent and ask the Father to forgive us, right? But we have to learn from. We can't continuously do that because we'll lose that sacrifice. Okay, so what I'm gonna be reading today is Psalms 38, David. So that short I read to you guys today is also in Psalms 38, right? This is just David, having sorrows for his sins, asking the Father to have compassion on him, just not to throw him away, praying to the Father, and pointing out, he know who he is, he ain't got no denial about it, he know what kind of person he is, he know the sins he done, he know the crimes he committed, he know it, so he talking to the Father and asking him to help him, to help him overcome these things, and have compassion on him, right? Right. So I want you guys to hear what David has to say to the Father, okay? Because he reached out to him in such a sorrowful way, right? Hoping that the Father would be compassionate towards him, okay? And again, this is Psalms 38, KJV version, okay? And the header reads, David sorrows for his sins. They rest as a disease upon him. He asked the Lord to be compassionate. This is a psalm of David to bring to remembrance, okay? Because remember, ain't nothing new under the sun, okay? This should bring some memory to you guys, even to your own soul. Because what I'm about to read you guys, I'm sure you guys going through it. We all go through it because there's nothing under the sun. And even though you guys may not have known this, I'm going to bring it to your attention right now so you guys can understand your past and how to move towards your future, okay? Verse 1. O Lord, rebuke me not in thy wrath, neither chasten me in thy hot displeasure. For thine arrows stick fast in me, and thy hand presseth me sore. There is no soundness in my flesh because of thine anger, neither is there any rest in my bones because of my sin. For mine iniquities are gone over mine head. As an heavy burden, they are too heavy for me. My wounds stink, and I corrupt because of my foolishness. I am troubled. I am bowed down greatly. I go mourning all the day long. For my loins are filled with the loathsome disease, and there is no soundness in my flesh. I am feeble and sore broken. I have roared by reason of the disquietness of my heart. Lord, all my desires is before thee, and my groaning is not hid from thee. My heart panted, my strength faileth me. As for the light of mine eyes, it also is gone from me. My lovers and my friends stand aloof from my sore, and my kinsmen stand afar off. They also that seek after my life lay snares for me, and they that seek my hurt speak mischievous things and imagine deceits all day long. But I, as a deaf man, heard not, and I was as a dumb man that opened not his mouth. Thus I was a man that heareth not, and in whose mouth are no reproofs. For indeed, O Lord, do I hope thou wilt hear, O Lord my God. For I said, hear me, lest otherwise they should rejoice over me. When my foot slippeth, they magnify themselves against me. For I am ready to halt, and my sorrow is continually before me. For I will declare my iniquity. I will be sorry for my sin. But my enemies are lively, and they are strong. And they that hate me wrongfully are multiplied. They also that render evil for my good. They also that render evil for good are my adversaries. Because I follow the one thing that is good. Oh, let me say it again. Verse 20. They also that render evil for good are mine adversaries, because I follow the thing that good is. Forsake me not, O Lord. My God, be not far from me. Make haste to help me, O Lord, my salvation. See? So you see how David, he went in deep and hard, like compassionate, recognizing his sins and asking the Father, to be compassionate to him and not let his anger come to him in such wrath, because he recognized who he was. He knew he wasn't perfect. He knew he fell short from the glory. He knew that he was wanting to live in the spirit, but his flesh was weak, right? So let's just summarize this a little bit. So he was saying, oh Lord, rebuke me not wrath, neither chasten me in thy hot pleasure. So he's just saying he know the Father gonna be angry. And when he get angry, he don't want him to take wrath on him during his anger, right? Because again, David know his sins and iniquities, right? But he also said there is no soundness, his flesh and his anger. He is not resting, right? Because of all the sins in his bones, right? Because he know that his bones is filled with sins. There is no rest, there is no peace, right? He said, for his iniquities are gone over his head. There's a heavy burden and too heavy for him. So he knew that the iniquities was so heavy that he couldn't even handle it no more. He couldn't take it no more. It was a burden over him. He wanted the Father to come release it, right? Sins can weigh you down. Sins can weigh you down. The burden can be so heavy. You be depressed, stressed out, having suicidal thoughts, everything. Because you don't realize that same sin is no peace. So it's bringing you to a perishing moment every step of the way. Okay? He also said, my wounds stink and I corrupt because of my foolishness. He knew his wounds stink. He knew he did stink because he knew it was him that was being foolish, who was presented to the world because of his foolishness. He accepted that his wounds stinks, right? He said he is troubled. He is bowed down greatly. He mourning all day long because his sins is eating him up. He mourning and bowed down all day long because his sins is eating him up. He recognized he's sinning. His sins is killing him and keeping him down and everything, right? And then he said, for my lungs are filled with the loathsome disease, and there's no soundness in his flesh, right? When he said his lungs full of disease, because of the sins is breaking him down, it's eating him up. Like a disease is spread through his body and everything. And there's no soundness in his flesh. There's no peace, because everything in his body, his mind, body, and soul is working against him because of the sins he's putting out there. Because the iniquities he know that the sins and iniquities is bringing these problems against him, right? He said, Lord, I am feeble and sore broken. I have roared by reason of the disquiet of my heart. Lord, all my desires before thee, and my groaning is not hid from thee. He's telling him this is him just asking the Lord. He's begging to him, telling him he's feeble and sore. Feeble just mean, you being weak. Maybe for an illness, or maybe from what you're going through, you being weak from so many things that you went through, so it just broke you down. And sore broken, like just a broken spirit. You can't take no more. Ain't no lively, ain't no laugh, ain't no smile, ain't no joy, ain't no peace. Your spirit is just broken. You're like dead, but you still walking, right? He said, my heart panted, my strength faileth me. As for light of mine, it's also gone. So he said the light that he did have in his eyes, it's becoming dim, right? Because he's experiencing so much, right? All the sin and everything that's in him and all his iniquities, right? And he knows overtake him. And this could have been what happened when we done it with Bathsheba. So he probably came to the Father because he knew he did wrong. He was eating him up. And he was asking the Father to forgive him, right? But what happened was when he done that sin and went to go take Bathsheba from Uriah, that sin followed down his childhood. His son Absalom went to go rape his sister. I think her name was Tamar, because he loved her. And then the other son came and killed him because he raped his sister. You see, so that came down to David's bloodline. So that sin that David did transferred from generation, okay, from his kids. And David couldn't really say nothing because he knew it was him that was the leader who started that sin, right? And it transferred to his kids from his own son raping his sister, falling in love. And because he raped his own sister, the brother killed the other brother for raping the sister. because of David's sins, right? So remember, it transfers down from generation to generation, okay? He said, again, my lovers and my friends stand aloof from my sword, and my kinsmen stand far off. So he said his lovers and friends, because of now, he's ashamed of people looking at him ashamed. Now he don't got no more friends. Now they standing far from him, right? Aloof. Like, where are your friends now? Where are they now? Because you're going through this turmoil, now your friends just left you, right? And your family. He said, my kinsmen stand far from me too, right? So the family and the friends, because this man experienced all that, they just left him stranded. You see? What are friends? That's why the Father said, if you got one friend, you're blessed, right? Because it's a prime example. This man was going through all this, and his kinsmen, who was his family, and his friends aloofed him. Aloof just means just became distant, left him stranded, okay? Friends and family. So rare. So who should we call our friends and family right now? They're telling us if we in the predicament where we need them, they just leave us stranded. That's why you got to go to the Father, okay? Then he said, they also that seek after my life lay snares for me, and they that seek my hurt speak mischievous things and imagine deceits all day long. But I as a deaf man heard not, and I was as dumb man that opened not his mouth. Thus I was a man that heareth not, and whose mouth I not reprove. So you see, he knew that his enemy was out to get him. He heard all that. He's seen that, right? But it's okay. It's smarter to keep your mouth shut sometimes and see nothing, because it'll save your life. Because remember, the power of life and death is in our tongue. Okay, so he knew how to outsmart his enemies. He knew that was out to get him. But he sat there and played dumb and deaf. Exactly something I've done many times. Sit there and like, I don't know no better, because I know these people talking about me. Okay, you be sitting there, they be indirectly talking about you, and they think you don't hear them, like, oh my goodness, these people is really talking about me. So I just better sit here and like, I don't even know what's going on, but soon I can make my great escape, I will. Okay, so look, David knew how to outsmart his enemies. Again, he played deaf and dumb. He heard them and he seen them, but to himself he played deaf and dumb so that he could not provoke his enemies to kill him at that moment. You know, that was his way of making a great escape, to be deaf and dumb and walk clean, smooth away from him, but know who his enemy were and know who to stay away from. Okay? Then he said, for in thee, O Lord, do I hope thou wilt hear, O Lord my God. He asked me, Father, please hear me. Okay, because I'm reaching out to you. I know I'm your son. You know I commit sin. You know my flesh is weak. I am willing to walk with you. The spirit is, but my flesh is weak, Father. So I'm crying out to you for my sorrows, to deliver me for these iniquities. Help me with these iniquities, because I am man and I am weak, because my flesh is weak. However, I do know right from wrong, Father. I'm asking you to guide me, deliver me and everything. But again, David was blessed because the Father did, in fact, you know what? Forgive David, right? David knew he was going to the kingdom, right? So that's what I'm saying, that even though we sin sometimes, trust me, that's where mercy and grace come in, right? It's just that recognizing your sin and ending it, putting a halt to it, but not continuing it. Because if you continue it, that's when you ultimately the sacrifice of judgment come against you. Okay? Then it said, for I said, hear me, lest otherwise they should rejoice over me. When my foot slipped, they magnified themselves against me. So he's asking the Father to hit him, right? Because if the Father don't hear him, he know all his enemies going to come together against him and magnify their power and take them out, right? He can't handle all them people, but he know the Father can protect them. So he's crying out to him, to tell him to hear him, to protect them from his enemies, because his enemies trying to overcrowd him and come against him. And he know him. If his enemies all come together, they can take him out. But he do know that the Father can stop that, right? So he said, for I am ready to halt, and my sorrows continue before me. For I will declare my iniquity. I will be sorry for my sin. Okay, so he's telling the Father he's going to halt his sins, and he's going to sorrowfully continually. He's going to keep on reaching out to the Father, right? He's letting the Father know he's declaring his iniquity, knowing that he's sorry for his sin, right? Letting the Father know, spitting out iniquity, amending everything in spirit and truth, right? He said he is sorry for his sin. Because he understands his sin, he recognized his sin. He went to the Father. He was very sorrowful. He asked the Father to be compassionate on him, but he did not deny his sin. He admitted it, all right? So the Father can't help him. He wanted the Father to hear him, but he went to the Father in spirit and truth, right, with dignity, opening it all, telling it all, so the Father can help him and be compassionate on him, and he apologized for his sins. But he also knew, he said, but my enemies are lively, and they are strong, and they that hate me wrongfully are multiplied. They are multiplied. They also that render evil for good are my adversaries, because I follow the thing that is good. Okay? So he's just telling you, right, his enemies are alive and they are strong, right? They hate him wrongfully, right? And they are multiplied. They hate this man for no reason. And they multiplying against him. There's so many of them. They are strong and they coming against him. They lively too, right? And they hate him wrongfully. They're multiplied, but why do they hate him? There is no reason to hate him, right? They also rendering evil for good, right? They making evil good, right? You know, so like I said, they're rendering evil for good are my adversaries, right? So those that are those that are rendering evil for good is his adversary. So they're making evil good, you know, and good evil, right? Because of David, he said, I follow the thing that good is. Because he followed the thing that's good, you know, the Pharisees and the scribes, the people hate you. Okay? The nations hate you. Just people hate you when you follow things of good. They render evil for good. They're your adversaries. They lively. They strong. All because David want to follow good. All because you want to follow good. Okay? So he's telling you to reach out to the Father. And he said, forsake me not, O Lord, oh my God, be not far from me. Make haste to me, O Lord, my salvation. So he's reaching out to the Father, saying to him, don't let these enemies take over him. Forsake him, right? Please protect him. You overcome him from his enemies, right? He asked the Father, don't be far from him, but be close. Show your power, show your miracles, just like he did for Isaiah, okay? For Elijah, okay? And then he said, make haste to help me, O Lord, my salvation. He's telling them, stop it, please, Father. ASAP, stop it, right? And save him. And he also knows because you are my salvation. He's only reaching out to you, oh Lord, my salvation. Make haste. Make my enemies stop. Make my enemies stop, oh Lord. Do not forsake me. Make haste to help me, oh Lord. You are my salvation. So you guys see, David cried out and prayed out to the Father because he knew his sins was in the wrong, right? And that's what we all got to do. We got to pray out and cry out to the Father because we know we sin. You know, the spirit can be willing, but the flesh is weak, right? So, and if your enemies are coming against you, hey, seek the Father in spirit and truth. Diligently, right? Spit everything out of them, right? Be sorrowful so the Father have compassion on you, but it's got to be done in spirit and truth, right? And once you pour yourself out, you just can't pour yourself out and go back and do the same thing again because, hey, that's a hypocrite. That's contrary to what the Father is telling you to do so you can gain salvation, right? So you guys just heard David, who's the king of Judah and Israel, right? And the Father loved him. And remember, the Father going to raise David up again. Well, you know, his spirit up again. For the kingdom for us, right? You know, because remember, the Messiah come out of David's lineage. So the king himself is the Messiah, you know. So, but in the light of David, you know, he have raised the Messiah from David's lineage. So he's coming back, right? So that spirit of David is coming back to guide us again, right? In the form of the Messiah, right? And us as being risen as a nation, Judah as Israel, but Judah be rising first, so Israel can't magnify against Judah. Again, Judah will rise first, so Israel cannot magnify against Judah because Judah is the ones who's going to publish the laws, okay? So you guys, you got to be careful again, you know, because we all sin, right? We all fall short of glory, right? But when there's a will, there's a way. We can go out and reach the Father. We can work on those sins so we can live. We can live, right? If we work on those sins, right? We work on living righteous and we work on those transgressions. We can live more peacefully, more joyful, more happy. And then we won't be like David, laid out and sore broken, diseased out, no peace, no soundness, no quietness, no nothing. Just sorrowful. And we don't want that. And the Father don't want that for you, okay? All right, you guys. So I hope you guys got some clarification. You know, go pray out to the Father again. And this is Psalms. Remember, Psalms is a hymn or a song and everything. And a lot of Psalms is it has been written by David. Okay, prayers and everything, reaching out to him. So he's just trying to teach you guys how to reach out to the Father, right? Remember, ain't nothing new under the sun. If you want to know what happened, go to the Bible. It's all there. Okay. All right, you guys. Enjoy your Tuesday. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment, you guys. All right. Bye. Love y'all. Peace.